The energy and consequences of the eclipses carry us into November. Eclipses can be felt 6 months prior to and following each event. Energy typically peaks under the event itself and on any corresponding equinox or solstice. October 2023 was a special and rare month, offering 2 Venus-ruled eclipses back to back. On October 14th, we had the new moon solar eclipse, 21 degrees Libra, which highlighted Mars coming into conjunction with the South Node and aspecting in a square to Pluto in the late degrees of Capricorn. By 1 week later, the first quarter moon, 28 degrees Capricorn, featuring Moon plus Pluto, 28 degrees of Capricorn, forming a square to Mercury, Cazimi, Mercury and the Sun in the late degrees of Libra, approaching the South Node. After that, we had the lunar eclipse in Taurus, October 28th, which was a time of shedding, releasing layers of self or ego that no longer serve. We shed these tired past versions of ourselves, like a snake sheds its skin. And we're moving away from anything that's heavy, whether it's a job, a relationship, a person, or a partnership. To continue on to the astrology ahead, November has the potential to be even more intense than October. This is for several reasons. 1, we're in the heart of Scorpio season. Scorpio is a Mars and Pluto ruled sign, which brings underlying emotional intensity, passion, and drive. Mars entered Scorpio on October 12th and will remain in Scorpio until November 24th. We have Mars, Mercury, and the Sun all in Scorpio. Strong, intense Scorpio energy, especially in the first half of that month with Mercury in Scorpio. Our minds focused on digging into the depths, the secrets, the truths, bringing that to light before Mercury enters Sagittarius just before this new moon, the topic of today's video. Really, that first half of November, we're focused on getting it done. And getting it done, look where you have Scorpio in your chart. That'll be where this energy, where Mars is in the focus of your energy and drive, will be with Mars in Scorpio. Look to your chart to see where that may manifest in your life. What house? Libra, it's in my second or my money-making house, my money, where I have my natal Pluto as a Pluto in Scorpio, aka in rulership and proud millennial. Everyone who has their Pluto in Scorpio is part of the millennial generation, along with Juno, Jupiter's partner, the asteroid of long-term commitment and partnerships. I have always been drawn to magnetic Scorpio and Leo energy. My Jupiter's in Leo, my Juno is in Scorpio. First half of November, which we'll summarize pretty generally, brought the Sun, Mars, and Mercury all in Scorpio, bringing intensity, willpower, and passion, and a strong resolve or determination to get to the truth or deeper meaning behind something. The new moon brings an alignment of the moon and the sun due to their same position in the sky. They're transiting through the same constellation, the same part of the universe. In this case, the sun and moon align in Scorpio, since we're in the midst of Scorpio season. This is when the sky is darkest under the new moon, when 0% of the moon is illuminated. We're in Scorpio, just following eclipse season, which is said to be when the veil is particularly thin and when our intuition intensifies. This supercharged Scorpio new moon creates a deep emotional need for depth. We desire meaningful emotional changes over superficial ones. Desire from boredom, swimming in the shallow end. We also long for work that aligns with soul meaning. This is true especially for and beginning with the millennial generation, those with their Pluto in Scorpio in rulership. Pluto intensifies, so everyone with their Pluto in Scorpio has intense Scorpio energy, whether or not they were born during Scorpio season. These years are 1984-85 to 1995-96. It was a short but sweet transit. And Also for Pluto in Sagittarius, that's Generation Z, the generation after, which was 1995, 1996 to 2007, 2008. Scorpio incarnated to overcome adversity and to embody the adage, life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. Is in learning to trust the process and surrendering control, or the need for control. Also incarnated to merge souls on a deep soul level with a soulmate, and to manage other people's money or manage a business in some capacity, as they seem particularly skilled in doing so. Moon and Aries both share Mars as a planetary ruler, which tend to be incredibly business-minded and adept at handling other people's money and financial responsibilities. Financial planners or be the executor on someone's will. A pattern that runs in my family down my maternal line. So my brother Ryan is a Scorpio moon. My nephew Mason is a Scorpio moon. I have my Gemini moon in my 8th house, giving me all those same detective, read you like a book, Scorpio undertones to my Gemini need to know and gather and disseminate information. I'm an astrologer, occult subject, 8th house. Scorpio is a fixed water sign that can be very set emotionally. It can tend to hold on to especially those negative emotions, anger, pain, fear, resentment, and trauma longer than is healthy or necessary, which later acts as a poison unto the self. And Pluto rule the reproductive and elimination systems of the body. So you can watch for flare-ups with organs associated with these systems, as they may be more sensitive under these energies. You may also be experiencing hip or low back pain, especially toward the pubic bone or pelvic floor region. Tied to the first point about it being a fixed water sign, Scorpio has a need to eliminate or to let go. So you may also want to do a little bit of a liver detoxification. All of these are involved in our elimination process, and Scorpio is all about, like the Tower card, burning it down and rebuilding from the ashes anew and better than before. Scorpio is the detective in your favorite true crime series or crime drama. This intense, almost obsessive ability to focus the mind, coupled with read you like a book intuition that's adept at reading between the lines, noticing what goes unsaid, picking up on small micro changes in body language and tone of voice. Scorpio energy, like we said, is the Tower card in tarot, symbolizing these continuous and never-ending cycles of death and rebirth, of ending and beginning. There are no endings, only new beginnings. Moon in Scorpio, which we're seeing under this new moon on November 13th, has a true gift for turning a dream into a reality once it sets its mind to something. Scorpio moons are determined, ambitious, idealistic, imaginative, and they tend to be incredibly business-minded. Moon in Scorpio bestows talents and a great capacity for leadership and authority with this very popular magnetic personality and a heightened ability to intuit into the motives and desires of others. Scorpio moons face a tremendous amount of adversity and obstacles, but they also possess an equally great ability to overcome said obstacles and to channel any adversity into personal power. They also possess a tremendous ability to be able to keep this from the public. They may wear a mask. They may also tend to have a relative with health issues or have health issues be recurrent in the family. Themselves may experience patterns of repressing pain, resentment, and avoiding emotions instead of working through them and transmuting them. Scorpio for most of the month of November, like we said, from October 12th until November 24th, Black Friday. And then on Black Friday, Mars shifts into Sagittarius. Optimistic, life of the party, big picture, and freedom focused, adventure focused. Just the right energy for Black Friday. Mars is the traditional ruler of Scorpio, making this energy intense and strong. Mars is fully free to express itself, and it does so with great focus and tenacity. When Mars is in Scorpio, we channel this intense energy and emotion toward a purpose or some sort of a creative outlet as we experience and enjoy increased intuition, passion, creativity, and imagination. We're also able to easily captivate and magnetize any audience. Mars travels with great speed through Scorpio during the month of November, along with the Sun, and maintains the Sun's pace. For context, and to put this into perspective for you, Mars typically moves through a sign in 6 weeks, while the Sun travels through each constellation in about 4 weeks, or every 30 days or so. When the Sun and Mars travel together through a sign, Mars is said to be combust, or on fire, which Mars is already a fiery planet, due to its close proximity with the Sun. The Sun can be considered a spotlight, or a focus of our energy collectively, and lends additional energy, force, and fire to Mars. Our motivation, drive, and passion, an outward expression of energy, how we go after what we want. Mars also rules the divine masculine collective and that part of our subconscious. We have both within, divine masculine and feminine, the yin and the yang. Moon together, like we have under this new moon, is very similar to having an Aries moon. It can be impatient, impulsive, driven, and ambitious. This energy is great in a crisis, and it's a common placement in first responders and people who work in the emergency room. On Saturday, aka Saturn's Day, November 4th, Saturn goes direct, 0 degrees of Pisces. Just as when a planet goes retrograde, it amplifies its power and influence and its symbolism. The same is true when a planet stations direct. In November, Saturn serves as one of our planetary focal points, stationing direct 0 degrees Pisces just days into November 2023. Saturn is Kronos, ruling over time, karma, disciplinarians, authority figures, agriculture, restrictions, regulations, rules, and it's happening on the day of the week named for Saturn, Saturday. When a planet changes direction, such as at the end of a retrograde, as in this case, it appears to stop or station, pausing in the energy for an extended time before changing direction. This creates an emphasis of energy wherever that planet stations, wherever it pauses, which in this case is 0 degrees Pisces. 0 degrees Pisces is the purest form. It's 0 degrees, the critical degree, the purest form of that sign's energy. Pisces is one of the most sensitive, compassionate, and empathetic signs as a mutable water sign. This may be taking us back to March 7th, 2023, under the Virgo full moon, which was when Saturn first entered 0 degrees Pisces. Some Saturn and Pisces themes include karmic lessons and restrictions involving access to spiritual, creative, intuitive, and/or empathetic sides due to blocks created via substance abuse, addiction. It also can mean karmic lessons involving boundaries, patterns of escapism and emotional avoidance, patterns of emotional manipulation, especially woe is me or any victim playing manipulation. It can bring up patterns of toxicity in food and/or access to clean drinking water, and karmic lessons via flooding. This is amplified by Neptune in the last or third final decan of Pisces into early 2026. Saturn and Neptune travel through Pisces essentially together. Neptune takes much longer. The key with any Saturn placement is to lean into the discomfort. Saturn isn't a bad guy. Ultimately, Saturn is the tough love parent that wants you to be more self-disciplined and more accountable. Saturn makes us stronger through karmic lessons and restrictions. Karma is neither good nor bad, it simply is. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction or exchange of energy. It's one of the spiritual laws. So you could be reaping good karma, rewards for hard work or consistent effort over time, for previous good deeds, living with intention, or you could be receiving negative karma for living selfishly or following greed, leaning into shadow instead of light. Saturn in Pisces does not favor material success. They're intended to gain spiritually. Saturn in Pisces from March 2023 until early 2026 can bring great loss and disappointment. It can force us to make tremendous personal sacrifices for the benefit of others and or to take a subordinate position, although one's skills may be superior. This can be applicable for those who have their Saturn in Pisces, and this can be applicable under the transit. Saturn in Pisces also has a tendency to self-sabotage through having weak boundaries or too rigid of boundaries, and may struggle with emotional avoidance and or addiction issues. Since Saturn is the planetary ruler of Capricorn, Saturn in Pisces is influencing anything in Capricorn, which is Pluto, 28 degrees, in its second to last visit through the late degrees of Capricorn. Whenever Pluto changes signs, it's a big deal, and it signifies the change in energies that you see between generations. Pluto is such a slow-moving planet that it spends 20 to 40 years transiting through a sign, and it takes 2 years to change signs. 2023 and 2024 serve as transitionary years between the Pluto and Capricorn era from 2008 until 2024 and into the Age of Aquarius, 2024 through 2044. That's right, Pluto travels directly through Aquarius from 2024 and into 2044 after 2 final retrogrades through the late degrees. We just wrapped up one of them, the late degrees of Capricorn, 2023 and 2024. 2024 offers a long pause at the critical Anaretic 29th degree, carrying all that energy of Pluto and Scorpio, tower moments and earthquakes and eruptions, during a 2-month station in 2024 from September 1st until November 19th. This energy shift will be felt collectively. The first half of 2023 offered a preview for what's in store the first half of 2024 and what to expect moving forward from late November 2024 until 2044. Pluto there, the focal point for 2023 was 27 degrees Capricorn, and the focal point for 2024 will be 29, that critical final degree point before Capricorn becomes Aquarius, 29 degrees Capricorn. Saturday, November 4th, also brought with us communication issues due to Mercury in Scorpio's opposition to Uranus in Taurus. With this transit, we have the lower mind working against the logical mind, or maybe we had issues with networks. I know with my job, we had issues with a certain type of label that was involved in a network exchange of information. Under Mercury opposite Uranus, especially with Mercury in the sign of Scorpio, we may experience sudden downloads or insights or flashes of intuition. This transiting may have brought a shocking truth to light or revealed a secret. We may have experienced cyber attacks, hacking, and shocks or sudden changes, especially those impacting travel, aviation, and or shipping. We may be experiencing or feeling threats to our freedom and personal liberties. We're still feeling the effects of Neptune opposite Venus in Virgo, and the very next day, there's a fixed T-square between that last quarter moon, 12 degrees Leo, exacting Monday, November 6th, Jupiter retrograde, 10 degrees Taurus. So that last quarter moon, 12 degrees Leo, is aka the half moon. This is the halfway point between the full moon and the new moon. And that new moon, 12 degrees Leo, which was where Venus retrograde ended its retrograde in 2023, is when the sun and moon are square one another in a challenging position. There's a need to integrate, and it's felt internally, an internal conflict. So in this case, the sun, 12 degrees Scorpio, forms an exact square to the moon, 12 degrees Leo, while the sun is opposite Jupiter for like a couple days around the 6th, amplified under that last quarter moon. And soon that opposition will involve Uranus under this new moon. Moon in Leo is a passionate energy, but it can be a bit dramatic. I know, I have my south node in Leo conjunct Jupiter. I understand dramatic. But watch out for an over-reliance on external validation. Leo is a little bit programmed for this. It's why you'll see so much Leo energy in performers and entertainers, because they're like literally wired for that feedback from others. It's this exchange of energy when you have a performer on stage and an audience. Both feed one another. If everything is going smoothly and harmoniously, there's this exchange or flow of energy. The entertainer is feeding off of the audience, enjoying, that's their feedback, right? And they keep feeding off of that. But be careful of becoming too reliant on external validation, caring too much about being well-liked or popular. It's best to lean into the opposite energy here, that stoic, detached Aquarius. Also watch, because Leo can be a bit demanding. It has high expectations, but it's highly creative. So I encourage you to channel all this energy into some sort of a creative outlet. Maybe start your own YouTube channel. Whenever the moon is in Leo, you're encouraged to follow your heart no matter the cost. 6 T-square involving the moon square the sun opposite Jupiter in Taurus can bring earthquakes, both literal and metaphorical. Unexpected changes and curveballs can make us more moody, dramatic, irritable, and headstrong. We may experience health flare-ups, family problems, or difficulties at work as a result. Be sure to practice grounding. On Monday, November 6th, Venus 28 degrees Virgo formed a trine with Pluto 28 degrees Capricorn, which brought jealousy, possessiveness, and intensity into our relationships, especially those concerning finances and where joint finances are concerned. Scorpio. 28 degrees Capricorn is, I'll remind you, the millionaire's degree. Some in positions of power or in the top 2% collecting some karma. Mercury in the late degrees of Scorpio formed a trine to Neptune, perfect for getting creative, using that imagination, and tapping into our more spiritual side through a hot bath, taking a yoga class, meditating, or doing a tarot reading. On Wednesday, November 8th, Venus left its sign of debilitation in Virgo. So Venus is exalted in Pisces. Opposite that would be Virgo, so it's challenged in Virgo for one of its signs of rulership, Libra. Libra energy is strong with Venus in Libra, and Venus is now free to fully express itself. Where it otherwise felt perfectionistic and nitpicky and self-critical, Venus is now free to love fully from November 8th until December 4th as she transits through her home sign Libra. This means that both the divine feminine collectives and the divine masculine collectives, divine feminine ruled by Venus and divine masculine ruled by Mars, collectives, the yin and yang, components of self, are in their signs of rulership, fully free to express themselves and balance. Whenever Venus is in Libra, this brings harmony into interpersonal relationships, more peace in our social interactions. Venus in Libra is charming, helpful, friendly, kind, charismatic, polite, romantic, and personable. If you were like me and you have your natal Venus in the sign of Libra, congratulations and happy Venus return to you. It is a special and powerful placement. Venus is a benefic and in rulership in the sign of Libra, focused on creating balance and harmony amid post-eclipse and Scorpio season chaos. November 10th, Mercury left the 29th critical energetic degree of Scorpio for Sagittarius, where it became much more focused on freedom, big picture, justice, equity, law, philosophy, religion, etc. Mercury in Sagittarius is big on freedom, especially freedom of speech. So we may see issues related to censorship, propaganda, threats to freedom of speech coming up under this energy in transit. As Mercury enters Sagittarius, it forms an immediate square to Saturn at 0 degrees Pisces. So this is like Mercury having this big boost of confidence and optimism and inspiration, and then immediately being like overly excited you didn't realize you were inadvertently interrupting people at work, hitting a wall with authority and like, oh, that's not great feedback, let me work on that kind of a thing. You may want to watch authority figures or disciplinarians at this time. Keep your distance, just stay in your lane, work on staying positive and doing a good job, because there may be conflicts at work. Can also make us feel suspicious, greedy, or lack in mental focus or discipline. So be wary of projecting this inadvertently outward onto others. It can also bring disputes and separations or burned bridges. From November 11th until November 14th, so under this new moon, this energy intensifies significantly from Veterans Day forward. We experience the peak with a combust Mars, the Sun and Mars traveling together through Scorpio, coming into a challenging and very harsh opposition to Uranus, starting Veterans Day, but through and under this new moon in Scorpio, the topic of today's discussion. Uranus is retrograde 21 degrees Taurus. Uranus brings sudden curveballs and changes that ultimately liberate us from the shackles of complacency and stagnation. A little deeper, it's Saturday, 11/11, Veterans Day. When Mars and Uranus are in exact opposition, Both Mars and Uranus are linked to freedom and independence. Mars opposite Uranus can signify some sort of a kickback or a strike against rules and regulations. We saw the actors and writers in Hollywood strike during Venus retrograde over the summer of 2023, followed by an auto industry. Several service industries are striking. I've heard several school districts are striking. Opposition is happening at exactly 21 degrees, which is a Sagittarius degree. Sagittarius having to do with our growth, expansion, our wisdom, our healing, and both Uranus and Mars being in fixed or set signs. Taurus can be very set in its ways and stubborn as a fixed earth sign, while Scorpio, like we mentioned, can be very set emotionally or emotionally fixed as a fixed water sign. Mars is incredibly strong in Scorpio, and Uranus is strong in Taurus, but uncomfortable there. Can bring literal and metaphorical earthquakes, political, financial, those affecting the stock market, real estate industries, bank closures, specifically when the Sun and Uranus are in opposition, as we see under this new moon. It's like the volcano is erupting. There's an explosive, hot, and intense reaction. When Mars is opposite Uranus, remember to keep an open mind. Adapt gracefully to change. Disputes can lead to burned bridges, especially those resulting from impatience or impulsivity or reactivity or an unwillingness to adapt to change. We may see outbursts of anger, especially outbursts of anger directed at people who hurt us in the past. We may experience sudden or unexpected attacks at our character or goals, and someone new or unexpected may come sweeping into your life only to create chaos and disappear as quickly as they appeared. Mars in Scorpio. The shadow traits of Scorpio may be heightened under Mars combust Sun opposite Uranus and Jupiter in Taurus. Scorpio can be emotionally fixed, obstinate, passionate, possessive, obsessive, and even manipulative. It can hold on to negative emotions, especially grudges and resentments, long past what's healthy, and it may even tend toward vengeance or choose the shadow. Due to struggling to let go of past pain, resentments, and betrayals, Scorpio risks poisoning itself. First at Cancer Energy. Cancer Energy is the first water sign, cardinal initiating water, and Scorpio, fixed water, comes after. Cancer Energy is symbolized by the crab. It initiates emotionally with its naturally nurturing and highly empathetic nature as a cardinal water sign. Scorpio Energy is symbolized by the Scorpio. You can see it in the glyph, the M with the stinging tail. Both have a hard exterior protecting a soft inner, very vulnerable interior. Both have claws and a tendency to hold on to things both emotionally and physically longer than what's healthy or necessary or productive. Both walk sideways, possessing a natural ability to sidestep obstacles, and both energies tend to experience loss and adversity. So, Cancer can be guilty of woe is me manipulation and make itself prone to depression by holding on to pain, loss, regret, and betrayal longer than what's healthy. Scorpio can be very reactive, stinging with its toxic and fatal poison. In so doing, the Scorpio risks poisoning itself and sealing its own fate, becoming entrapped by its own shadow and nature. The Scorpion and the Frog. A scorpion asks a frog to carry it across a river. The frog hesitates, afraid of being stung, but the scorpion argues that if it did so, they would both drown. Considering this, the frog agrees. But midway across the river, the scorpion does indeed sting the frog, dooming them both. When the frog asks the scorpion why, the scorpion replies that it was in its nature to do so. Google that article. What immediately came up is a Forbes article, The Scorpion and the Frog, A Tale of Modern Capitalism. This is from April 24th, 2015. Sunday, November 12th. Moon in Scorpio opposes Jupiter in Taurus. We saw this in the reverse under the partial lunar eclipse, the last full moon, where we had Moon with Jupiter. Now we have Moon opposite Jupiter. Both can bring big emotions. In this case, it's more of a need to integrate these big emotions. And Moon in Scorpio is kind of known for emotional intensity, so a need to balance those. I would lean into the Jupiter and Taurus, the grounding, the stability, the presence, the confidence. Scorpio opposite Taurus usually brings issues along the financial realm, threats to food, our natural resources, our supplies, shipping industries, threats to security and stability, privacy concerns, border security. Remember to lean into Jupiter and Taurus. Be present, mindful, and grateful. This transit can put us in opposition or against authority or teacher, mentor figures, and it can make us more prone to overindulgence. So watch the spending, especially as we head into Black Friday, which, if you've noticed in most stores, starts earlier and earlier every year. Why wait? On Monday, November 13th, we have the theme for today's video, the new moon. On Moon Day, the sun and moon align for the new moon, 20 degrees of Scorpio. 20 degrees is a Scorpio degree, further intensifying the Scorpio energy. This is like having a quadruple or even 5 times the dose of Scorpio energy, happening at 20 degrees in the sign of Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Mars, all in Mars and rulership in Scorpio. It brings endings, and especially wants to rid itself of toxicity. It's about eliminating. Scorpio also wants to show up in these soulmate connections, these partnerships, in an equal energy exchange, equally empowered in that partnership. And anyone who's in a partnership like that understands and plays to one another's strengths and weaknesses. They work together. Through Scorpio season, we're elevating connections by taking greater accountability and responsibility for our internal emotional world. We may be experiencing fear or insecurity around someone being dangerous, reactive, or impulsive with their energy. And people could be dangerous with their words, their gossip, their lies, and attempts to manipulate. With intention, you need not worry. And you quickly pivot when you fall into moments of unconsciousness, you need not worry. The new moon is happening in close conjunction with Mars, with a 2-degree orb, Mars nearby at 22 degrees Scorpio, in direct opposition to Uranus retrograde 21 degrees Taurus. This is Pluto's involvement. Pluto is wanting us to turn a new chapter with something Mars has been carrying and dealing with. What are you ready to purge and let go of? What truth is ringing loud and clear for you? What version of yourself have you outgrown and are now ready to shed like the snake's skin? I mentioned that 22 degrees in degree theory can bring the death of a loved one, while Mars delivers karma via accident, injury, illness, or separation. It's happening on the karmic number 13th day of November, with the planet of karmic lessons, Saturn, having recently stationed direct, ready to deliver on karmic lessons in Pisces just 2 weeks prior. At the 0th, very first sign for the Saturn in Pisces generation, their karmic lessons are coming in. Was last in Pisces from 1993 to 1996. So those of you who were born between 1993 and 1996, double check your chart because you could have been born during a retrograde where it might have been dipping its toes and changing signs. 1993 to 1996, you are having a Saturn return. It's a challenging and difficult time. We have them quarterly. We have 4 of them, give or take, in a lifetime. And they coincide with quarter life crisis around age 27, usually. And then sometime midlife and 3/4 of the way as well. And they're opportunities to pivot and make sure we're living in alignment. Degrees is also a master number 22, associated with Capricorn energy, adding an emphasis to what we're already feeling under Pluto 28 degrees Capricorn. Moon and Mars bring intense emotions. Deep, turbulent feelings may be surfacing wherever you have Scorpio in your chart. Mars combusts the sun. Mars is triggered, it's angered, it's frustrated, and it's feeling impatient. Also indicate that we're facing something, a deep imprinted fear or an insecurity head on after it's been reflected back to us. Mars in opposition to Uranus. This is likely something that we avoided or dissociated from. It's something we may have pointed the finger the other way and said wasn't us but them. Sun, Moon, and Mars, all together opposite Uranus and vertex, that point of fate and destiny. Uranus brings these sudden changes and curveballs, freeing us from the shackles of complacency and stagnation, especially where Scorpio, Taurus themes are involved. Food or involve financial enmeshment, shared resources, food supplies, supplies of natural resources, the economy or stock market, tightened budgets. Uranus longs to break free and to break us free from any emotional intensity or heaviness still lurking behind from eclipse season. Mars, Sun, Moon opposite Uranus and Jupiter. In Taurus, watch out for overindulging and overspending, especially on luxury items and goods with Jupiter in Taurus. A truth may be emerging, a faded vertex, mirror to the self that we must come to view objectively, Uranus Aquarius. That's forcing us to take a new perspective. We're feeling a desire to take charge or initiative or movement on something. This new moon affords an opportunity to release any fears or blocks that have become fixed or trapped in our psyches, and that can often slip out or emerge as patterns of unconscious behavior that ultimately disempower and exhaust us emotionally. Moon in Scorpio, and any new moon in Scorpio is an excellent opportunity to explore past life regression therapy or to look into the Akashic records and clear those out. With Neptune in the late degrees of Pisces forming a trine to the Sun, Moon, and Mars in Scorpio, and this energy increasing as we approach Sagittarius season, we're transmuting these intense energies through a larger spiritual or creative context. And we're seizing this opportunity to jump timelines, ultimately seeing something from a more loving and compassionate perspective, and we're leaning into compassion over fear. You can look to your dreams for a powerful message from your higher self at this time. Whenever we have Scorpio placements, we need to look to both traditional and modern planetary rulers, Mars and Pluto. Pluto is 28 degrees Capricorn, answering to a now direct Saturn in Pisces. Pluto forming a sextile to Venus, Pluto squaring the nodes of fate and destiny, Pluto forming a trine to Vertex, 25 degrees Taurus, but Vertex and Uranus are together at 25 and 21 degrees Uranus respectively. So all of those working together, Pluto working against, creating some friction and some huge pivot moments and opportunities for people to level up in their consciousness, waking people up. Mars is in Scorpio, 22 degrees. Scorpio strong in one of its signs of rulership, 22 degrees indicating the death of a loved one, while Mars in Scorpio can be emotionally intense and reactive, especially in close conjunction with the moon and in the sign of Scorpio. So when intense energies arise, how do you transmute it? You can comment below. To transmute that energy and channel it into something productive, inspiring, or beneficial. I actually have the moon and Mars in a loose conjunction there. My moon is 9 degrees Gemini and my Mars is 13 degrees Gemini. And they're in different houses, the 8th and the 9th house, but the Mars kind of pulls that moon out of like the Scorpio clinging to past pain and resentment and into the positivity of Sagittarius, fortunately. So, and especially when I surround myself with fellow Sagittarius, like Sag moon, Sag risings, it helps to bring out that Mars in the 9th house. Something that works for me, that's a lot like having an Aries moon. I need to have goals. Constantly be working toward a goal, crushing a goal, hitting a deadline, exceeding a deadline. Very performance-based, and hitting the gym or exercising in some capacity to work through any excess energy. Breath work, yoga, meditation, sitting still but looking at a flame, because sitting still is challenging for me with all the Gemini energy and the Aries energy. It's like very sprinter. Looking at a flame though to help focus the mind and work on quieting little by little and detaching and looking at things more objectively. That works for me. Share what works for you. We're taking the high road or the high ground and we're detaching from struggle. Saturn squaring Mercury. This can bring restrictions to communication and media. Authority, power, big business may be in conflict with the communication and media. Mercury in Sagittarius especially loves its freedom of expression and it doesn't tolerate censorship of any kind. Sagittarius is a sign that is connected to truth and justice after all. This transit can be mentally exhausting, so watch for burnout. out, skip the caffeine, skip the stimulants. And it may also involve facing either a person or a pattern that we have until now successfully avoided facing or accepting. Mercury in Sagittarius, sextile Venus in Libra. We're accessing balance as we detach from others' baggage and emotional projections. We may also see, with issues in communication, we've seen a lot of solar flares, so we may see solar flares that have the potential to take out power grids that affect the communication. This could be another representation of that. Uranus in Taurus, which has been 2018 until 2026, unstable. It's very unstable. Uranus, instability, and Taurus, geomagnetics. This could be another indicator. This can also indicate instability with homeland security and issues with borders with Neptune and Saturn in Pisces. Issues with borders coming to the forefront of our attention and at an all-time high in 2023. Following the new moon on November 16th, the Sun and Mars align 24 degrees Scorpio, forming an inconjunct to Eris, 24 degrees Aries, which can bring potential threats to individual rights and freedoms. We are finally coming out of that cardinal T-square between Pluto in the late degrees of Capricorn and the north and south node of fate and destiny, the north node in Aries and the south node in the late degrees of Libra. 2023 was the big year for choice and making intentional choices that are aligned with values and integrity. Are we in co-creator mode or victim mode? Are we choosing and therefore feeding fear and insecurity, or love and light?